This is Brian.
Jason.
And this is Perfectly Screwed Podcast. Today, guys, normally we talk for a minute and we update you on current events. There is one thing I do gotta say though. There is one thing I gotta mention, and it's funny because it's a Trumpism. Okay, we gotta talk about old Trumpy because I'm waiting till 2024 when he runs again, because he will. So because it's going to be a comedy show, dude. It's going to be a shit show. It's going to be funny as hell.
I have a question. I know that you can run again, but since he's already done 4 years, if he wins, can he do 8 years?
No.
Can only do 4 more?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can only have 2 terms.
Gotcha.
He wouldn't win though. This man's psycho out of his mind. But he just said...
Oh, he's going to win.
Oh, good God. He just said in an interview, or not
he's
an interview, but...
Biden.
Oh, God. Jesus. I don't think he'll get to the point where he runs against Biden, especially if Elon Musk joins the fray.
Musk is going to be president?
Musk is thinking about running, yes, in 2024.
How? He ain't fucking from here.
Musk is from the United States.
I thought he was from South Africa.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Are you sure he's
I don't
from
know.
South Africa?
I don't really know. I'd have to look that up. But anyways, Trump said in a rally, he was talking about the Mar-Largo thing, or Mar-Largo, whatever it is, where they seized a bunch of classified documents. And he goes, you know, the FBI says I had some classified documents. He goes, I only had a few, if any. He goes... Hold on, that's not the best. That's not the best.
This sounds like you got caught with fucking pills.
Right.
I've had a few, if any.
Yeah, but that's not the best part. The best part was when he completely lied and said, George H.W. Bush had a whole bowling alley full of them. Saying that George H.W. Bush stole a whole bowling alley full of classified documents, had them stored in a Chinese restaurant or something.
Why is a bowling alley?
Yeah, because he was at a bowling alley, a Chinese restaurant. Supposedly, that's where he was storing all his documents. But anyway,
really?
So Jeb Bush, you know, George H.'s son, heard this, and he said, that's complete bullshit. The only thing my father ever did in a bowling alley was bowl and eat Chinese food. It's just, it's so ridiculous the shit Trump comes up with. I'm telling you, 2024, I'm waiting, because he's going to provide so much content for just this podcast alone that I'll have to do whole episodes just on his nonsense.
Yeah, Musk is from Pretoria, South Africa.
Oh, is he? Well, then he can't run. Yeah, he has the same problem as Schwarzenegger. Even though people want to elect him, he can't run. No, if he's from South Africa, they're not going to let him run. But his crazy ass was talking about
Money's also rough.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But anyways, what we're talking about today...
Maybe Musk is the Antichrist.
You know, I wouldn't doubt it. He's something, because he's not from this planet. I've said it before. There's something wrong with that dude. But we are talking about presidents today. We're going to talk about the JFK assassination. And
I can't believe we haven't done this.
Yeah, the conspiracy surrounding it. There's a lot of conspiracy surrounding it, but I wanted to stick to a couple. The most believable, because some of them go way off tangent, like aliens came down here and assassinated him. And
here's my thing.
Yes. Your thing? I don't want to see your thing, but...
Lee Harvey Oswald, right?
Lee.
I mean, as we sit here today, is responsible, solely responsible for killing JFK.
If you believe the Jackass Warren Commission, which was a half-ass put together commission of nonsense.
My question to you is, do you believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman?
I don't know if I even believe Lee Harvey... there we go.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah. I don't believe... I don't know if Oswald... We'll just call him Oswald because his whole name is going to fuck me up. I don't even know if Oswald did any of it.
Right.
He clearly had a gun. He might have shot at the president or shot him, but no, there's no way he was the only guy. No way.
He was clearly shot by somebody from the front.
I mean, well, clearly there was more than one shot. I mean, the single bullet theory alone is crazy as hell. That just doesn't make any sense.
It's unbelievable to me, man.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's kind of like how they said JFK's brother died, Robert Kennedy. That's just crazy as hell.
It actually, when I got real interested in the JFK assassination was in high school when they brought some lady in to talk about it. And she had been, studying it for 30 years and was this JFK assassination expert. And she believed in the magic bullet theory, dude. And I couldn't wrap my mind around that.
Yeah, the Warren Commission was complete nonsense. First of all, it was initiated by one of the I'll say probably because all this is probability, but probably one of the conspirators to assassinate JFK in the first place, which was Lyndon B. Johnson. And the main conspiracy is that the CIA killed Kennedy. And a lot of people ask, why? Why would the CIA kill Kennedy? Well, Bay of Pigs. And for anybody who doesn't know what the Bay of Pigs was, the Bay of Pigs was a failed, at the time, Fidel Castro, I'll give you a little back history on this. Fidel Castro had started a coup in Cuba. And the United States at the time had a lot of dealings with Cuba and the president of Cuba at the time. And they had a lot of businesses going on in Cuba. And a lot of the government agencies were housed in Cuba. We had a very friendly relationship with the government of Cuba. Well, when Fidel took over and his rebels took over Cuba, it kind of ended all of that. So the CIA and the United States government, in the fashion of the 50s and 60s, to stop communism, quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah. Which really wasn't to stop communism. It was just to push the power of the United States wherever they wanted to. But they were still on a high from winning World War I and II, so they thought, we'll just do whatever the fuck we want because we won World War I and II, and they said Korea was a triumph even though it wasn't, and all of that. So, we got to stop the communist scum. Got to stop Russia and the Cubans. So, to do that, the CIA decided that the rebels that were left over in Cuba, they were going to band together with them and start airstrikes and kill Castro. Well, the first problem with that is Kennedy agreed to the Bay of Pigs, but he didn't really back it fully. And he didn't give the CIA the money or the weaponry they needed to complete the mission.
What's Bay of Pigs?
The Bay of Pigs was a government-orchestrated CIA operation to destroy Fidel Castro and his people.
I thought there was Russia was bringing nuclear bombs into Cuba or something. Is that?
Well, that was. They said that they were, but it was never confirmed. No. As a matter of fact, there was never nukes. It was kind of like,
that might have been the reason they were given for fucking going in.
Well, that's the reason the CIA used.
Yeah.
But really, they just wanted to overthrow Castro because Castro was causing problems with the United States government, and he refused to trade with us, and all trade routes shut down at that point. So the CIA, the Bay of Pigs was an operation by the CIA. They took the rebels that were left over from the old government, and they went to fight Castro, and the CIA was supposed to provide backup, and their original mission was to take planes and bomb the shit out of Fidel Castro in Cuba in the capital and hopefully kill Castro. Well, Kennedy pulled the funding for that. So they didn't have enough planes to help the rebels. And then there was supposed to be a second attack and Kennedy stopped it completely. Well, this not only pissed off the head of the CIA because of all the time and money invested in it, it pissed off Lyndon B. Johnson and some other high government officials who believed we should have went in there and finished the job because Kennedy pulled the funding and stopped
Johnson wanted to end it because he wanted to go to Vietnam.
Right. Johnson wanted to go to Vietnam, so he wanted to end Fidel Castro as a kind of a jumping off point to show, we can do whatever we want and we can take over Nam too. And Kennedy pulled the plug on all that. So there was a big strife between Johnson and Kennedy to start with because of the Bay of Pigs. And then you go into the fact that he basically told the head of the CIA, no, you're not doing this, which to the CIA, head of the CIA, he was like, no, fuck you. Yeah, we'll do what we want. We're the CIA fucking A, motherfucker.
Right.
Right. And Kennedy said no. So he stopped the second invasion of Cuba, and it not only was humiliating to the CIA completely, because it looked like they failed a huge mission, you know, because they were like, oh, we're going to stop communism, and we got to stop Fidel Castro, but it humiliated the government as a whole, because it was one of our first losses since, you know, forever. It was like almost like a lost war to these people. And so he humiliated a lot of uppers in the government as well as the CIA. So a lot of people say, why would the CIA kill him? Well, there's your perfect reasoning right there. And then a former CIA agent, Howard Hunt Jr., claimed that Johnson actually ordered Kennedy killed by Johnson to the CIA. He told the CIA, according to this Howard Hunt Jr., which was an ex-CIA agent, after he retired and everything, he claimed that Johnson gave the direct order that he wanted Kennedy assassinated because Kennedy was causing problems with not only the CIA, but their mob dealings, because people who don't think the government had, you know, dealings with the mob back then is insane. So,
Right.
Right.
So, who was this director? Who was the guy that...
Oh, said that Johnson had it? Howard Hunt Jr. Now, unfortunately, Howard Hunt Jr. was also one of the instigators of Watergate, so, you know, he's somewhat to be believed in this.
Right.
But then you can also go to Nixon. And a lot of people don't know this about something that Nixon said, and I'm getting the exact quote from Nixon here in just a moment. Because see, hold on. I'm trying to find exactly what Nixon said. I swear to God, I had all this wrote down and then I am not finding it.
I mean, the cover-up of this assassination has to go so far. It seems like almost everybody would have to be in on it except for JFK.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure half the government was in on it. Well, not
obviously
really.
Obviously the FBI.
Well,
CIA.
not even the FBI had to be in on it, because the CIA and the FBI worked independently of each other. Johnson had to be in on it.
I mean, they've basically proven that the FBI covered up the magic bullet.
So, Richard Nixon, if you don't know about Watergate, one of the main things that got Nixon convicted at Watergate was wiretaps that Nixon was talking to a guy named Helms. Okay? And they kind of tapped the conversation, and the conversation he had with this Helms fellow was like, was in the CIA, right? And Nixon basically told Helms, look, if you tell anybody about Watergate, okay, a lot of stuff's going to come out. And this is actually exactly what Nixon said to one of the heads of the CIA. He said, we protected Helms from one hell of a lot of things. Nixon growled on the tape. You open this scab, and there's a hell of a lot of things that I can tell. And we just feel that it would be very detrimental to have these things go any further. Any further. Any further.
Don't go any further.
Okay, if you're playing the drinking game,
You probably drunk as fuck.
I'm just going to tell you what the drinking game is, in case this is your first time listening. The drinking game is very simple. Anytime I fuck up a word as fervor and Lee Harvey Oswald that I just fucked up twice, we want you to take a shot. We're not trying to make you alcoholics. We're just trying to get you a nice buzz, because we find that when you're buzzed, this is a more tolerable experience for everybody involved.
And believe it or not, even though sometimes he sounds like he is, Brian's not drinking.
No. Well, sometimes I am.
But
not tonight.
He slurs his words.
Not tonight. Actually, it's funny. Some of the episodes where I was really, really drinking, and there's been a few, I didn't slur a damn thing. I was
right on the money.
Yeah, I was right on the money. The problem is I don't smoke weed anymore. I'm telling you, when I smoked weed, I never missed a single call. I coughed a lot, but I never missed a single call.
Right.
Never fucked up a word. But anyways, this tape goes on. He said, you open the scabs and there's a hell of a lot of things. And we just feel that it would be very detrimental to have these things go any further. He said, this involves the Cubans, ex-CIA men, and Watergate burglar Howard Hunt, and a lot of hanky-panky that we have nothing to do with ourselves, but would implicate a lot of people in the government. Nixon advised this to Chief of Staff H.R. Haldeman on how to get the CIA director to kill the FBI probes. He said, say, look, the problem is that this will open the whole Bay of Pigs thing. And that me, the president, just feels that without going into details, don't lie to them to the extent to say there is no involvement, but just say this is sort of, was a comedy of errors, a bizarre, without getting into, exactly what the president believes, that is going to open up the whole Bay of Pigs thing. So, Nixon was saying, without saying, that this is going to open up the whole Bay of Pigs, that this is going to open up the Kennedy thing again, because this was right after that. And this is going to open up that whole mess of worms. And I know things. And if you nail me for Watergate,
this is kind of
I'm gonna tell everybody what I know about Kennedy and the Bay of Pigs and everything that went on. And see, this is the thing. A lot of people in the government knew what went on. Nixon knew, Lyndon B. Johnson knew, and they all basically hinted that JFK was assassinated by someone other than Oswald.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly.
100%.
Clearly. And that's what I'm saying, Some of these theories aren't on the money, but when you have those kind of records coming out, and then you have, Oswald saying, first of all, Oswald never admitted to it. You know that, right?
Right.
Oswald said, I did not shoot Kennedy. He said he shot the gun, but he didn't shoot Kennedy.
I mean, the whole parade route, man. Mm-hmm. I've been to the school books depository. I've been there. And, yeah, if you were acting alone to shoot the president, and you were up there from that vantage point, dude, you're good. It's literally looking right down over him before they make that big right-hand turn.
Yeah.
That you're not supposed to fucking make, by the way.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the whole parade route was, completely out of what you're supposed to do when you're doing parade routes.
Well, that wasn't the original route to start with.
No, I know.
They actually altered the route without telling Secret Service. That's why some of the Secret Service agents pulled off to the other side, because they were supposed to go straight. And they made that big turn right by the depository, right in front of the grassy knoll, where many people over the years have said they saw gunshots. They saw people running off from that area.
Of course.
And look, you have to be a complete and utter jackass and the worst assassin in history to shoot somebody from the depository and then wait, basically, right there until the Secret Service arrives to catch you. And that's basically what happened. I mean, either Oswald's the dumbest assassin in history.
No, he got caught at the fucking movie theater.
Oh, yeah, at the movie theater. You're right, because he ran and then went to the movie theater. But it was only right down the street, wasn't it?
The thing is, dude, there's this, we have the Zapruder film.
Oh, yeah.
We have the film.
And it shows
of John F. Kennedy's goddamn head being blown off. And just physics alone would tell you that kill shot came from in front of him.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, after Kennedy was killed, the Dallas Police Department immediately, not an hour later, not 2 hours later, immediately found Oswald in the movie theater and claimed immediately that he shot the president. That seems very convenient to me right there. You know exactly where this guy is all of a sudden? Immediately.
Mm-hmm.
You know where he is. And the moment you pick him up, out of everybody at the movie theater, he's the one that shot the president.
Out of everybody in Texas.
Yeah. You just know
right, who did
this guy, right, you know who did it, and you knew exactly where he was going to be. So Oswald denied the charges, and it's interesting also, the very next day he was killed in police custody.
Yeah.
Before he could ever talk about anything, be questioned or anything, he was shot dead by Jack Ruby very next day.
A fucking known member of the mob.
A known member of the mob, right. And some say an ex-MK Ultra.
Yep. And then Ruby was killed, correct?
Ruby died of lung cancer.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, but it was very short time after that. But it's also interesting, we'll get into Ruby in a second, because there's some interesting things that went on with Ruby too. But a year later, Washington Insiders, a commission of Washington Insiders, which was the Warren Commission, concluded that Oswald acted alone and unaided, and that JFK's death was not politically motivated. Yeah. So, a biographer of two top CIA operative officers at the time, who were deeply knowledgeable about the events of 1963, said that they do not find the official story of a lone gunman to be credible. The CIA men did not believe in the privacy of their thoughts or actions. They knew far more about Oswald, the supposed assassination, before JFK was killed than they disclosed to investigators. So they admitted later they knew all about Oswald before he was ever taken into custody, before he ever assassinated JFK. Mm-hmm. They knew about it, and then they lied to the Warren Commission about it when asked about it. Declassified records and interviews demonstrate that the agency settled on the story of the lone gunman in order to conceal its deep pre-assassination interest in Oswald from law enforcement, Congress, and the American people. So they have declassified information now that proves that the Warren Commission just settled on Oswald, said, even though all of us don't agree on this, Oswald, we're going to say Oswald did it. That way we can put this all to bed so that everybody's not like, oh, what's going on? So that right there tells you something. Okay, they basically said, well, we can't prove that Oswald did it, but what we're going to say is since Oswald's dead anyways, right, and JFK's dead, and it's been a year, we're just going to say Oswald did it. That way we can put all this to rest, and the United States ain't in the turmoil, and all these conspiracies ain't going on. Yeah, which is, first of all, that's fucking insane, but we'll just go with that. Now, going back to MK Ultra for a second, and I wanted to get into MK Ultra for a second. For anybody who doesn't know, we did an episode on MK Ultra, but for anybody who doesn't know, MK Ultra was a program, right, by the CIA in the 50s and 60s.
A mind control program.
Right. They tried to make super soldiers, Manchurian candidates that would act on a trigger word to do whatever they were told without any knowledge of what they had done. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact...
Hypnosis, basically.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the head person for MK Ultra was known to actually later on kill animals by giving them large amounts of LSD trying to perfect the program. He also...
What a way to go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
He was also known to be able to hypnotize people, give them doses of LSD, and implant false memories into their minds. And that actually worked. As a matter of fact, MK Ultra, if you look at the declassified documents, was a complete success. They actually invented super soldiers that would do whatever they were told immediately.
Yeah.
Right. And they implanted false memories. Because, speaking of Jack Ruby, after he shot Oswald, you know Jack Ruby said he had no memory of ever shooting Oswald. He didn't remember anything from a phone call earlier that day.
The dude that, Sirhan, that hit, was it Robert Kennedy?
Yes, Robert Kennedy.
He was the same way.
Yeah, he said he did not remember it, and he got a phone call, and that's the last thing he remembered. Didn't remember who was on the phone. And Jack Ruby said the same thing.
And Oswald was part of MK Ultra.
Yes, Oswald was one of the first ones. In fact, Oswald was one of those that they had at the hotel room with the hookers. Remember I was talking about that?
Mm-hmm.
Where they took a bunch of men to the hotel room, gave them LSD, and saw what would happen with the hookers.
Yep.
Well, Oswald, during that whole thing, right, relayed to a hooker, and this is where I wanted to get into this, because Oswald told a hooker that he had been in this program for years, okay, while he was on LSD. And the hooker said, well, what do you mean? And he said, I am one of the assassins for the government. He said, I work for the government. I'm an assassin. He said, I'm part of this program. I know why I'm here. And that's when he proceeded to tell her that he had actually met a man who was named Indrid Cold. And if anybody's listening about or knows the name Indrid Cold, it's very familiar because of the Mothman prophecies, which we've also done an episode on. And Indrid Cold was one that John Keel, also when he interviewed people in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, they said there was a guy named, Woodrow Derenberger. And November 2nd, 1966, and two other men both told John Keel that in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, they met this man, Indrid Cold, on a road. And that he smiled strangely and very large, but he said he was a normal man, but he was dressed completely in a black suit. And he told them, you will meet me again. And told them things about their lives and stuff like this. They also witnessed the Men in Black in Point Pleasant at the time of the Mothman sightings. Oswald also speaks of the Men in Black and said the Men in Black are the ones that were running the MK Ultra program, and Indrid Cold was the head of that program.
Mm.
So, and Oswald also called him the Smiling Man. See, and it's funny also, residents of Point Pleasant, some of them that saw the Mothman and Indrid Cold and stuff said that before they saw any of the Mothman sightings, they would see the Men in Black, and they would either blow a powder or gas into their face or hand them cigarettes from a pack that tasted funny. They were always men dressed completely in black, and they were always men that wore sunglasses and never really spoke, really pale guys. And these Men in Black have also been witnessed at many UFO sightings. Roswell, for instance.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So, it's not too far of a stretch.
No.
And see, this is the weird thing. You got Oswald saying the name Indrid Cold.
No, and the Men in Black, they don't just show up.
No.
With nice things to fucking say.
No.
Either. I mean, these dudes are showing up in places where strange things are obviously happening. You don't need any more proof to know that strange things are actually happening than the Men in Black are fucking
right.
there.
Yeah.
But they threaten motherfuckers, dude.
Yeah. In fact,
keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, they threatened all the people at Roswell.
Or
they said,
yeah.
Look, you either shut up or we'll come back. And we'll come back with another guy. And could that other guy have been Indrid Cold?
Of course.
And this is the thing. This is the weird thing. You got Oswald in the 60s saying Indrid Cold. Then you've got people thousands of miles away in West Virginia saying they met a guy by the same name.
Right.
So that kind of verifies that this person at one time had to be real. Whether he was a human being, an alien that the government was working with, or something other than that, we don't know. But the thing is, he had to be real. Because you've got three different witnesses now saying a different man's name, and they've never even met each other.
Right.
And they all have said this same guy's name and all saw these men in black. And Oswald, by this time, had been way dead by the time, Point Pleasant happened.
Mm-hmm.
So you got all these people saying this name. This has to be some type of government thing going on. And like I said, anybody who doesn't believe the government will lie to you and completely hose you and kill a president, you're insane.
Absolutely. Well,
no problem.
I mean, and it could be another. I mean, it could absolutely be this Bay of Pig thing, right? But the thing that interests me a lot is, well, first off, you have the Kennedy-Lincoln conspiracy things. That we've talked about that. There, several things that are just weird, that coincidences. And it's also a weird coincidence that Lincoln and Kennedy are the only two presidents that were trying to remove the Federal Reserve.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They were trying to put the money back in the U.S.'s hands, cut out the Federal Reserve. These are the only two goddamn presidents that's ever tried it. And they both got shot right in the fucking head. And nobody fucking went to jail. Nobody went to fucking jail.
Well, Dr. Cyril Wetch, a 90-year-old forensic pathologist who has studied the killing of JFK for almost 6 decades, claimed that Oswald, who was himself murdered by local businessman Jack Ruby a day after his arrest, had been under orders from Allen Dulles, CIA director from 1953 to 1961. Dulles had overseen the disastrous Bay of Pigs assault on post-revolutionary Cuba, launched in April 1961 with the aim. That was close. That almost was a shot.
Yeah, brother.
With the aim of removing communist leader Fidel Castro, and had been swiftly dismissed from office by President Kennedy after the operation's humiliating failure. So there's another thing. Dulles was the head of the CIA. He had all the power in the CIA and was running the CIA. After Bay of Pigs, Kennedy fired his ass. There's another thing. See, so who would want revenge more than the guy Kennedy fired? Right. And Dr. Wetch now argues that Dulles was so resentful over the episode that he groomed Oswald, a former marksman with the Marines, who had recently returned from the USSR to execute his enemy in the White House. So, see, Dulles says that Oswald did shoot Kennedy. He didn't say there wasn't a second gunman, but he thinks that Oswald did shoot Kennedy, but that Dulles was the one who, gave the orders to Oswald.
I mean, it's very possible that Oswald was one of the shooters. That's completely possible to me. And it's also possible that he wasn't.
Well, this is the other thing. Guess who was appointed to the 7-man Warren Commission?
Dulles.
Right. Dulles was one of the main people on the Warren Commission.
Because Kennedy axed him, but then Lyndon B. Johnson's going to give him a job somewhere.
Of course. He was also known, Dulles was also known to have communist sympathies. So he was sympathetic to communists at the time also. There are records that Dr. Wetch has uncovered that proves that Oswald certainly had been a CIA agent of some kind at one time or another. He also can prove that Kennedy fired Allen Dulles because he was really pissed off about what the CIA was doing. And then who gets appointed to the Warren Commission? Dulles. Also, Oswald was allowed, right before he killed Kennedy, to return to the U.S. after his stint in Russia at the very height of the Cold War, and in company of a new Russian bride, who was the daughter of a KGB agent. So, wait.
They're letting Oswald get his last
right.
little...
Oswald is out of the country in Russia. He has left the country and was living in Russia, said he was a communist. Oswald did, right? You're going to let that guy just return back to the United States with no problems whatsoever and bring a KGB agent's daughter with him?
We're going to make an exception. This guy looks like a swell guy.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, and of course,
just don't tell anybody else. We'll let you in. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and then we have records of Oswald being involved in the CIA. We have records of him being a Marine sniper. You know, now truthfully, I'm going to put it out there. Could Oswald have made that shot from the book depository? Yes. Okay? You or I could have probably made that shot. It was like 200 yards, for God's sake.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not a hard shot.
And I'm not even a sniper. Oswald was a trained professional marksman.
Absolutely.
So he could have shot Kennedy with a pistol from that range. You know, and he had a bolt-action rifle, but
right, yeah. I'm not arguing that someone shot from the school book depository. I won't even argue that it was. It very well could have been Oswald. Probably was. But what I'm saying is, there was another fucking gunman somewhere in front of Kennedy that made the fatal fucking shot that exploded the dude's head.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, see, this is the reason Dr. Wetch originally had a problem with this. He told the House Select Committee on Assassinations in 1978 that he considered the explanation that Oswald had acted alone not credible at all due to the differing trajectories of the bullets that struck Kennedy as he rode in his open-top presidential limo through the Texas city. He insists that there had to be a second gunman, and it had to be positioned behind a picket fence on the grassy knoll, and he still maintains that argument today, telling the Washington Post, under the single bullet theory, Oswald could not have been the sole assassin. He's firing from the 6th floor window of a Texas school depository building. So the bullet is moving from up to downward, right? So how the hell could it go back upward?
Yeah, because Kennedy's not the only one that got shot. Connolly got shot as well.
Yes.
Okay. So the bullet, yes. So we're talking about a bullet that went through someone, 2 fucking people. Went through 2 people.
Uh-huh.
Turns, and then goes back through his head.
Yeah, it turned and went back through his head.
Hello.
Well, he says that the bullet that went through Kennedy's brain had to have been removed to prevent further scrutiny. And he still attains that the bullet is unaccounted for. Okay.
Yeah, they actually found the magic bullet in fucking Connolly's gurney.
Yeah, in the gurney. Well, they didn't even find it in Connolly. They found it in the gurney after Connolly left.
And they said, "This is it. This is the bullet." And it's barely even damaged. It's like barely even flattened.
Oh yeah, it doesn't even look like the bullet was fired.
No.
So the single bullet theory, since we're talking about it, they tried to say that the bullet struck Kennedy in the back and exited through his throat. So in the back of the head and exited through the throat. The problem with that is the brains came out the back of Kennedy's head, not the front.
Well, the problem with that is if you watch the Zapruder film, if you watch it closely, you see him go like this. You see him grab his throat.
Yeah.
He grabs his throat. You see it, and you're at the same time you're seeing fucking his wife is moving.
Oh, yeah.
Like she's heard the gunshots, or she knows something's going on, and he's grabbing his throat, and then his fucking head gets blown off.
Right. Yeah, his throat was hit first.
Right.
His head was hit second, and I personally don't think Oswald fired either shot. Not to kill Kennedy. I think he shot the governor, but I think he didn't shoot Kennedy at all. Because again, the bullet would be coming down First of all, let's put it this way. Even if the bullet had went through the back of Kennedy's head on a downward angle, it would have went through his head and probably came out the front, not through his throat.
Right.
Because what kind of bullet goes through the head and keeps going down, 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 and comes right out the throat?
No.
That's silly. And secondly, like I said, the brains came out the back of his head. A bullet coming down is not going to have a splatter from the back. Right. It's just not. You have to be shot from the front for that to happen.
Right.
And the entrance wound was at the front of his head.
Right.
On the side.
I mean, I could see where if it was Oswald or whoever was shooting from the school book depository, I could see that shot going through the back of the throat, right? Out the front of the throat, into Connolly. But clearly he is grabbing for his throat and then the kill shot happens.
But not only that, but given the lack of damage to the presidential limousine, consistent with having been struck by a high caliber, high velocity bullet, and the fact that Texas Governor John Connally was wounded and was seated on a jumper seat 1.5 feet in front of and slightly to the left. Okay, first of all, if it was fired from behind him on the right, how does it hit Connally, who's 1.5 feet in front of him, and to the left? That's the most amazing bullet I've ever seen. So it went through the back of Kennedy's head, changed trajectory, went down through his throat, came out, spun in midair to the left, because he was shot from the right. So it spun in midair to the left. and then hit Connally. Oh, goodness. So supposedly it passed through President Kennedy's neck, then hit Governor Connally's chest, then went through his right wrist, and then embedded itself in Connally's left thigh. Now, to do this, the bullet would have had to go. Now, also, Connally was wearing a back brace, a metal titanium back brace. So, the bullet went through Kennedy.
Through his head.
Through a titanium back brace, 15 layers of clothing, 7 layers of skin, 15 inches of muscle tissue, 4 inches of Connally's ribs, his radius bone. That is one amazing fucking bullet, guys.
One magic bullet.
That bullet was moving at higher speeds than any bullets known to man.
There was a woman that dedicated 30 years of her life.
And then on top of that, the bullet wasn't even damaged. No flattened. But it went through a titanium back brace to go into Connally's chest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went through bones. Everything.
Well, the titanium back brace alone would flatten the bullet. In fact, it would have probably stopped it. It would have stopped it. Especially after going through Kennedy's skull and his throat and the back. And not only that, the back of the seat.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's completely nonsense. There's no way anybody could believe that.
I know, but people do believe that.
You would have to have at least 2 people shooting and way more than 1 bullet. Way more.
I mean, people do believe that. And then there's people that just don't care. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But like, dude, it matters, man. Somebody shot the fucking president in the goddamn head on national fucking television, and nobody went to fucking jail.
Well, not only that.
How can people not fucking care about that?
Well, not only that. They've proven there's no way Oswald could have got off more than 1 shot with the rifle that he was shooting. Okay? Because between frames 210 and 225 of the Zapruder film, That's when Kennedy was wounded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Connolly was wounded in the back and chest no later than frame 240. There would not have been enough time between the wounding of the two men for Oswald to have fired 2 shots from his bolt-action rifle. The minimum time for getting off 2 aimed shots from that rifle is 2 1/4 seconds.
Yeah, because we're not talking about a high-powered sniper fucking
No,
rifle
you're
here.
talking about a bolt action.
A fucking old-ass bolt-action rifle.
Right, so there's no way he could have shot 2 shots. There was only 1 bullet found, supposedly, but it was never found in Connolly. It was found on the gurney. So this amazing bullet fell out of his leg by the time he got to the hospital.
Mm.
Yeah, after transversing in midair. Not only that, but they say the bullet shot Kennedy. Okay, I'll give you. If they had said the bullet went through the back of Kennedy's head, through his throat, hit Connolly in the back, stopped in his chest, that would be one thing. But it went through his chest, then went down, hit his wrist, went through his wrist, then went down even further and shot and embedded in his leg.
Right.
Right. So if you're sitting with your hands...
Which obviously wasn't completely embedded.
No.
Because it fell out into the gurney.
Right. Well, no, by that point it would have been damn near stopped. I mean, it went through Kennedy's whole body, then a backrest of a car, then a titanium back brace, through ribs, through his wrist, and then into the leg. By that time, it would have just probably fell out in the car. I don't even think it would have went in the leg. I mean, he just had a little mark from the indention of the bullet.
It's just insane.
I mean, that bullet had to be traveling at speeds unknown to man. Superhuman bullets. It's kind of like the bullets that killed Robert Kennedy. You know, bounced off the foam ceiling and...
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Hit him 3 times and then bounced off the tile, came back up and hit him again. Yeah. Bullets always do that. They, you know.
What's the problem?
They're heat-seeking bullets. So, now let's get into something else that always bothered me about JFK assassination, and that's after JFK died, the Jack Ruby connection. First of all, Jack Ruby had no reason to kill Oswald whatsoever. You know, the other thing is, and this is the thing that always got me, as soon as Jack Ruby shot Oswald, they immediately took him into custody. Jack Ruby said in custody he had no memory of ever shooting Oswald. He said the last memory he had was answering the phone. And the person that treated Jack Ruby in his jail cell right after he shot Oswald was Louis Jolin West. Now, who is Louis Jolin West? Well, he is the doctor that was the head of the MK Ultra program. He was the one that could implant false memories into people's minds. The other thing about Ruby that's interesting is right after he killed Oswald, the police said that he was very coherent, kept telling him he doesn't know what's going on, he doesn't remember shooting him, doesn't know anything. Then after West goes and sees him,
all of a sudden?
All of a sudden, he's a psychotic. He's a complete psychotic. He's ranting and raving, talking crazy, out of his mind crazy.
Yeah.
And has no memory of anything, including anything that happened that day. Doesn't remember telling the police that someone called him. Doesn't remember shooting Oswald. Doesn't remember anything. He's complete psychotic, completely out of his mind.
Wow.
And recovered MK Ultra files show that not only did West continue his work with the agency after MK Ultra was shut down, and he was continuing his work with the CIA while he was treating Ruby. And nobody knows exactly what treatments were going on or what he was doing while treating Ruby.
Not important.
No.
Because they only needed him to do one thing.
Yeah.
And that was to kill the guy that they set up for killing the fucking president. So they had there's nobody left. There's nobody left to expose what really the fuck went on.
Uh-huh. Well, not only that, as we all know, most of all documents for MKUltra were shredded by orders of the head of the CIA.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Way before, and some of them were released later on. But the other thing is, he offered Ruby cigarettes from his pack, West did.
Really?
In the jail cell. Yeah, because they wouldn't give Ruby cigarettes. So West said, yeah, you can have some of mine. There you go. And the funny thing is, the police guards that were around Ruby said West didn't smoke cigarettes in the cell that he offered Ruby. He was giving him cigarettes out of his pack, but he never smoked any of them.
Right.
So here you go. Here's a cigarette, Ruby. And then all of a sudden, Ruby's out of his mind. Doesn't know what's going on. Doesn't know what happened. And yeah, Jack Ruby's psychosis was diagnosed by the same CIA doctor who had been the head of MKUltra and had killed elephants with psychedelics.
Jesus.
He was also the same doctor who treated Charles Manson.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, so West had a history of doing research in inducing insanity without a person's awareness. He could do that. He knew how to make a person insane without the person knowing that he was making them insane.
Right.
He reported that he had learned how to replace true memories with false ones. And he saw Jack Ruby, who shot JFK's killer, Lee Harvey Oswald, within 24 hours. After he saw him, within 24 hours of that, Ruby became completely insane and had to be institutionalized.
That's nuts, man.
No, that's amazing.
It is.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what else
fucking brilliant.
People can look into on the JFK assassination. There was a lady, she was a reporter. Her name was Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mm-hmm.
And because she ends up being killed too.
Mm-hmm.
And basically for the reason is because she had it. She had it fucking exposed. She was putting together the fucking report of basically all these basically who was behind it. And somebody fucking offed her.
Well, not only that, days before Kennedy was assassinated, someone impersonated Oswald and made calls and visits to the Soviet and Cuban embassies in Mexico several weeks before the assassination. And over the next 40 years, that became one of the CIA's most closely guarded secrets on the Oswald case.
Somebody was impersonating Oswald? What? Why? I mean, I don't...
To make it look like Oswald was planning the whole thing. J. Edgar Hoover even wrote a memo to the Dallas Police Department that said they will not have enough evidence against Oswald without FBI's information. He then wrote that I am concerned about, and so is the Attorney General, is having something issued so that we can convince the public that Oswald is the real assassin.
Yeah, see, there's FBI right there. Hoover.
Yeah, Hoover. Head of the FBI.
Attorney General.
And the Attorney General in on it.
I mean, it just...
And the head of the CIA.
Line, dude. The Vice President, everybody. It's everybody, man.
Yeah.
You can't pull this off without nobody being fucking... With nobody being the only person... supposedly has anything to do with it is murdered. It's incredible.
Well, see, this is the thing. The Central Intelligence Agency advised that on October 1st, 1963, an extremely sensitive source had reported that an individual identifying himself as Lee Oswald contacted the Soviet embassy in Mexico City inquiring about any messages. Special agents of this bureau who conversed with Oswald in Dallas, Texas, have observed photographs of Oswald, referred to, and have listened to the recording of his voice, and these are special agents' opinion that it was not Lee Harvey Oswald. So then Hoover has a conversation with Johnson. Have you established any more about the Oswald visit to the Soviet embassy in Mexico? No, there's one angle that's very confusing for this reason. We have up here the tape and the photograph of the man at the Soviet embassy using Oswald's name. That picture and the tape do not correspond to this man's voice nor his appearance. In other words, it appears that there was a second person who was at the Soviet embassy impersonating Oswald. President Johnson then expressed concern that the public might come to believe that a Soviet leader or a Cuban leader was implicated in the assassination, a situation that Johnson said could lead to war and kill millions of Americans in an hour. And he said he told Chief Justice Earl Warren of the Warren Commission and Senator Richard Russell, telling them they could serve America by joining the commission, and Johnson had established to investigate it. And he said, you better find that Oswald was a lone gunman so it doesn't cause a war in America.
Wow.
So, there's even more evidence. Someone impersonated Oswald to give Johnson a reason to tell the head of the Warren Commission, hey, look, if we let it out that Oswald was impersonated, they're going to think Fidel Castro and the Russians are getting together and they assassinated Kennedy. So what we got to do to prevent war, only to prevent war. Right. Not to cover my ass or anything. No. We got to prevent the war.
This is to prevent, this is to save thousands of millions
of American lives. So we got to find out that Oswald did it. Absolutely. Oswald had to do it. So, just make sure when you're researching this, we know Oswald did it, right?
Yes,
right?
He did.
Right, yes, he did.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a lone man.
That's right.
Lee Harvey. Bolt action rifle.
See?
Magic bullets.
Yeah, he wrote and told them the public must be satisfied that Oswald was the assassin, that he did not have Confederates who were still at large, and that the evidence was such that he would not have been convicted at trial. And 4 days after the memo to Johnson, Johnson formed the Warren Commission with Earl Warren as chairman and Senator Richard Russell as a member. And these were the two people that he had just told this to. Yeah. He just told them Oswald has to be the lone gunman. We can't let anybody think Cuba or Russia had anything to do with this, because that could cause a war. So what we're going to do, guys, I'm not telling you what to do, but what I'm saying is, if you want to make sure there's no war, Oswald did it. Just remember, he's dead anyways.
Right.
Yeah. Ruby's insane. It's all wrapped up in a nice little bow.
It's fucking perfect. Beautiful.
Damn right. Then Michael Benson, an author, wrote that the Warren Commission received only information supplied to it by the FBI, and that its purpose was actually to rubber stamp the lone gunman theory that the FBI had already proposed.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the Warren Commission had full power to conduct its own independent investigation, it permitted the FBI and the CIA to investigate the matter by themselves. And so it cast a permanent shadow on the answers. So this is the thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead, guys. I don't give a shit. We already know who did it.
Right.
Investigate the hell out of it.
Johnson sits these two down that are the head of the commission.
Yeah.
And says, look, guys, to prevent war, Oswald had to do it. I'm not telling you what to do, but Oswald had to do it. Don't you agree, guys? We can't have a war.
Yes, President, we do.
Yes. And then he goes, well, you know what? You two guys seem like good guys to head up this commission I'm starting. So how about we just put you two in power? Then these guys get together and they say, you know what? We could look into this matter, but instead, Let the FBI and CIA look into it.
Yeah,
they'll do a good job.
They'll find something.
Yeah, they'll do a good job.
Right.
And then everything they passed across the desk, they said, hell yeah, that sounds good to me.
Oswald did it, right? Scam.
You're damn right he did. Boy.
I mean, it's crazy.
I'm not
insanity, bro.
I'm not saying it was a cover-up, but it was a cover-up.
It's absolute insanity that people...
They tied a bow so tight around that. It was beautiful. They could not have fucking...
Right.
Done it any better. I mean, that's almost the Jeffrey Epstein. They pulled an Epstein right there. And again, I'm sure our amazing government, I mean, this was the 60s, in the 50s. I mean, they would never do that today.
Right, no.
Jeffrey Epstein. Killing himself in jail, Jeffrey Epstein.
No,
I'm not saying they would ever assassinate.
They would never do anything that would be harmful or untruthful to the American people.
No.
Like, they would never fucking take down the Twin Towers.
No, they would never kill Jeffrey Epstein because he had information on very high political powers in the government. I mean,
he was killed by his cellmate, bub.
Yeah, no, he hung himself.
Oh yeah, yes.
It was suicide.
I'm sorry.
I mean, there was no way he could have committed suicide that way, but it was suicide.
You're right.
Right. Just ask the Warren Commission; they'll tell you.
Oh yes. Sounds good, bub. Lee Harvey Oswald did it.
I mean, we're not going to mention that Epstein, had, Donald Trump and, Clinton on his plane to a secret island. I'm just saying that, Donald Trump and Clinton were known to travel with Epstein to secret islands. I'm not saying they raped children. I'm just saying that Epstein was known to have a secret island with
the only person
young children
I know that for a fact raped children was Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, of course. I mean, the Warren Commission told you. I mean, he's the lone gunman. I mean,
he's responsible for every crime that's ever been committed.
He had magical bullets. But Oswald isn't even dead. He's the one who killed Epstein.
Yeah, with the same bullet.
With the same bullet, yeah. It jumped right out of the Warren Commission's pocket, flew on over there.
Yep.
Choked the shit out of Epstein.
Damn Lee Harvey.
That's a damn fine bullet.
Son of a bitch.
I need bullets like that.
Right.
Shoot from across the street, it goes around corners, through windows, up and down, and kills somebody 6 blocks away. After going through a back bridge.
To me, it's just like, as American people, like, what more do you need? What do you need to be put into your face to know that our government is fucking corrupt?
Corrupt? Hell!
And that we, the people, are the only ones that can change it.
I mean, this is the thing. In the 1960s, I can see the way the culture was and everything. The government spoon-feeding you this bullshit and you going, yeah, okay, maybe. Because they trusted their government still completely. And a lot, but I mean, nowadays, there's no way you can trust what they say. No. Come on. No. And Joe Rogan mentioned something the other day that I find interesting. Joe Rogan said that he did not believe that the UFO documents that they're releasing are actually about UFOs. They got to be drones or something that we already had. He said because they're releasing it.
Right.
And I kind of agree with that because he's right. They would never willingly give you information that they don't want you to have. Mm-hmm. So there are still documents about UFOs that they're not going to hand you.
No.
Right. And the ones they are releasing probably aren't about UFOs.
Sure.
They're probably explainable somehow, some way. But they're giving you enough that they're saying, look, we don't lie. We're showing you everything. Yep. Here you go.
Yep.
Here you go. Just like you can't tell me that COVID wasn't blown out of proportion as a coup between our government and China. Of course it fucking was. COVID's real. I'll give you that. COVID's real. But is COVID as deadly as they said? Not by a long fucking shot.
Right.
Did they cause mass panic to inflate the economy of China and the United States? Of course they fucking did. Come on. Anybody who can't see that is a complete and utter fucking moron. Did they kill JFK? Of course they fucking did. The motherfucker embarrassed the CIA. He was trying to take down the Federal Reserve. He was talking about, he was investigating the connection between the FBI and the mob. Okay? He was also, Lyndon Johnson and many of them told Kennedy repeatedly, hey, you need to stay out of certain issues and you need to just toe the line. And he wasn't going to do it. He said, I'm in here for the people and I'm going to make sure that this country is better than when I started. And they said, no, you better just stop. And he didn't listen. And they said, okay, we got to do something about this motherfucker. Exactly. He ain't listening.
Exactly right.
Right. Because the mob controls corporations. Corporations control the government. And he was fucking with the government's money. Yep. And they said, no, we're not having this shit.
Right.
You're right. And Kennedy was actually having conversations with Castro and other people to work out the whole Cold War and everything that was going on. And again, they didn't want that because the Cold War was making them too much goddamn money.
Absolutely.
We can't have this shit. This motherfucker's fucking up everything we already started. We got to end this son of a bitch. And what did they do? They ended the motherfucker.
Yeah, they did.
And then they pinned it on the one guy they knew they could get away with pinning it on because he was a dumb, stupid sap.
Yep, not one person went to jail.
No. Nobody went to jail.
And to this day, nobody questions it.
No. Well, lots of people question it. In fact, most people know it's complete and utter bullshit.
They just don't care.
Right. Well, at this point, why would you? I mean, it was like, you know.
Well, not
damn
specifically
near,
about that, but
50 years ago.
You should care that the fucking government continuously lies and covers.
Oh yeah, because they still do it today.
Right, because
that's what you should care about.
Right.
That they still do it today.
Right.
That the government still allows people, although I gotta say, a lot of things are getting better because people are waking up to the fact of this. Mm-hmm. Like, police aren't being allowed to do what they used to be allowed to do. Now people are fighting back and filming them, putting it on social media saying, hey, I have a right to film here. I have the right to do this. You don't have any right to question me or ask me my name. And cops aren't liking it. Government officials aren't liking it that now they're being put on blast about the bullshit they're pulling. Mm-hmm. Right. Whereas, back in the day, they could just get away with it. Because there was no record of what the fuck they were doing.
Right.
But anyways, I hope you guys liked this episode. That was our episode on JFK assassination. We're going to have to do something as a follow-up about corrupt government real soon. Because I'm sure I can find about 3 million things on how corrupt our governmental system is. And how much they've covered up.
Lee Harvey Oswald did it.
Yeah. He did. Him and Ruby, they were in it together.
I'm going to start blaming Lee Harvey for all my fucking... for all my discretions.
Why not? Christians don't ever take responsibility for anything they do. That's why they have Jesus. I mean, think about this. I was watching something the other day, and I'm going to end on this real quick because we are getting on in time, but I wanted to end on this. Would you trust a court system who takes an innocent man who's never done anything wrong and makes him be punished for the crimes of somebody else?
Of course not.
Well, that's Christian religion.
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
Right.
I mean, and the bad part about it is, and I didn't think about this as I was watching this video the other day, by doing that, you basically say, nothing I do that's wrong is my fault.
Well, that's
because I was born in sin,
right? So I
can't help it, first of all. And secondly...
That's exactly what the mindfuck is.
Yeah, and I have an easy out.
Yes.
Because all I got to do is say, I'm sorry. And all the mistakes I made and all the bullshit I did, I don't have to own up to any of it.
It's exactly what the Bible is designed to do, is to make you believe that you don't have to be responsible for your own actions.
Yeah, that's the thing. They don't have to say, I'm sorry for anything they did.
Right.
All they got to do is go, Jesus,
believe in you.
I believe in you. Woo! So all the bullshit I did as a horrible human being, that's all absolved.
And I always thought
everything's gone.
I always thought it was interesting. I mean, the way it reads was Jesus was paying for your sins. Whose sins? Maybe what he was saying was he's paying for your sins. The people that were there.
Yeah, the rest of y'all are fucked.
That were there, watching it happen,
Yeah.
knowing it was wrong,
Right.
and not stopping it.
Right.
I'm paying for your sins.
But-
Not mine,
yeah.
not yours,
No.
theirs.
Yeah, theirs.
But it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same as this JFK thing.
Right.
Right? He's paying for our sins.
Right.
Because we know it's wrong.
Right.
And we're letting it happen.
And we let it happen. Yeah. And then all Johnson had to say is, God, sorry. Didn't mean to kill the
Forgive
president. Woo, I'm good.
Right.
I'm good.
Forgive me.
Right, I'm going to heaven now. Right. Okay, well, that's JFK. And I hope you guys liked it, and we will see you next time.
Later.